What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, I'm really excited for this one because this reminds me of another SCP that I covered in the past, which was SCP-150, Body Still and Parasite. And if you guys remember that reaction, I love that one. That was so spot on, and I believe it was a really good animation for that said SCP. And this one seems so similar to it. I'll be surprised if there's no connection, but like always, we shall see. So this SCP is SCP-3003, Parasite Planet, the end of history. Bro, how much more hype do you need in a title than that, man? Yo, this gotta be juicy, man. It gotta be. So with that being said, if you guys are excited for this reaction and you do enjoy it along the way, please remember to smash that like button, guys. It will really help the channel grow. We're so close to 5K subs. Please smash that sub button if you're not part of the family, especially if you tune into multiple videos and you just didn't take the time out of your day to do it yet. Let's make this video be the time for you to do so and smash that red button, and also hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. It's important because YouTube will not notify you guys even if you're subbed when I upload. So it behooves you to smash that button and stay plugged for the heat. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. If you love SCP content and you love my reaction style, this is the best place to be on the tube to get your fix of SCP heat. So with that all out the way, there's nothing left to be said, man. Let's get this show started. Alrighty, Parasite Planet, SCP-3003, the end of history. Yo, and it's interesting that it's a 3000 SCP because I don't really cover them that much. For some reason, it just doesn't pop up, so hopefully it's a good sign.
There is a planet orbiting a G-type main sequence star. Unlike the millions of barren rocks littering the cosmos, this one is in what scientists call the Goldilocks zone, the area around a star believed to be most capable of sustaining life. And life does more than just survive on this world. It thrives. The distant world is home to a mix of animal and plant life, including a large technologically advanced civilization of humans. Other than the Earth, this is the most complex ecosystem the SCP Foundation is aware of, and it may be the greatest threat to life on Earth in the universe.
Wait, it's a legit planet? Like for real? Yo. That is actually crazy. This is obviously, there's no way you could capture a freaking planet. But wow, this is probably one of the biggest SCPs that we covered so far, a whole planet.
This is SCP-3003, a Keter class object with one of the most ominous nicknames in the entire Foundation database. The end of history. Research into this world, which is located roughly 208 light years from Earth, revealed many similarities to our own world. It is only 3% heavier than Earth, rotates in 30 hours, and orbits its sun at a similar distance to our own planet. The temperatures are similar, and they are temperate enough that the majority of the planet's landmass is able to support large numbers of life forms. While few species found on SCP-3003 are identical to those on Earth, many are surprisingly similar. But it's 3 of these organisms specifically that combine to create an existential threat to our own world. SCP-3003-1 is a small beetle-like creature known as Mars by the planet's human population. While they grow to only 3 centimeters in length at most, they have a strong ability to defend themselves. In addition to their hard carapace, they can shoot a spider silk-like substance from their abdomen and coat themselves with acidic liquid which makes them impossible for predators to eat. They spend most of their time swarming and feeding on plants, and can live 15 years in the wild. They're largely harmless to the planet's humans. That is, until an invisible enemy enters the picture. SCP-3003-2 is a single-celled amoeba-like creature that has evolved to be completely dependent on other beings like the Mars. In other words, it's a parasite. And SCP-3003-1 is essential to its life cycle. After it makes contact with the Mars and infects them, though, it doesn't stick around. Rather, it starts to transform the beetles into vicious parasites themselves, causing them to grow a long, pointed stinger on their head. This stinger can paralyze its target, allowing the Mars to inject whatever it stung with the population of SCP-3003-2 lurking inside of it. And these beetles that have been taken over only have one target. SCP-3003-3 entities are humans. 30 billion of them, to be precise. The human civilization of SCP-3003 is far larger than our own, and studies have indicated that they're genetically identical, and could even produce viable offspring with the humans on Earth. And they are the primary target of the infection of SCP-3003-1 and 2. When attacked by the infected Mars, the beetle creates a hole and enters into the human's body before sealing the hole with its silk material. Once inside, it can live up to 3 years inside the human.
How does the human not feel that? For real. Like, I'm being for real. Unless, like, this bug is way smaller than it actually appears to be in this animation, like maybe a flea size, that would make sense, and they're just showing it this big so we could actually see a visual representation of what he's actually doing. But if he's like a legit beetle size, which is what it's supposed to be, how does a human not feel a legit decent sized hole and getting it covered up with silk? This guy seemed peaceful, like he wasn't just creating to a human home. Like, what?
During which time the human is fundamentally transformed. Once they've been infected, the SCP-3003-3 human becomes obsessed with spreading the Mars and develops a pleasure response to being in its presence. They maintain their intelligence and become hyper-rational, able to evaluate information quickly and effectively without any influence of emotions.
Yeah, it's probably because of the SCP-3003-2, which is crazy because I'm assuming what they said when the beetle injects a human, that part of the SCP-003-2 is getting injected inside said human and is actually like, you know, controlling the human, or like that's, you know, the brain of the human now. That's why he's doing all these things and is actually smarter and everything.
While the capacity for emotions remains, these humans rarely express them and almost never act on them. They have one primary function: to spread the infection further. It sounds like the beginning of an alien invasion.
He literally walked up to someone and just planted the beetle, bro. I don't know why that shit was so funny to me, but yo, it's hella casual. Like, this guy has he's not even being slick about it.
But the invasion already happened.
Oh my god.
The war is over, and the humans of the planet orbiting HIP 56948 have lost.
But it jumped to
The
Earth.
infection is not growing. It's already complete. SCP-3003 has a population of 30 billion humans, and every single one is host to SCP-3003-1 parasites.
Bro.
This happened centuries ago, and the entire society has since been reshaped to accommodate these parasitic creatures, and to make the human population more hospitable to them. While these humans are identical to those on Earth, they lack its genetic diversity. The humans of SCP-3003 have been selectively bred to make ideal hosts, complete with larger bodies, more fat tissue, higher pain tolerance, and less susceptibility to diseases.
Oh my god.
But the society has not degraded due to the infection. Quite the opposite. The SCP-3003-3 population has become a hive mind of sorts, working together towards a single purpose.
What's that?
As such, these humans have evolved to be far more united than humans on Earth. They all speak a single language similar to Dutch, with no other languages still active. All humans belong to the same culture, and research has indicated this is about 500 years old. Before the infection, they were a humble society that had over 7,000 different cultures and mainly engaged in trading. None of them exist anymore, and they aren't the only thing that's gone. SCP-3003 lacks Earth's genetic diversity in animal and plant life. That's because in the early wave of SCP-3003-1 infections, the newly infected humans targeted any species that preyed on the Mars. These mass extinctions created famines and other ecological catastrophes, and led to a massive change in the way the humans of SCP-3003 live.
Damn.
The vast majority now live in carefully planned cities, built in the safe and temperate regions of the planet. These cities are mostly enclosed and are used for industry and food growth. They are also extremely tightly built, so much so that SCP personnel reported feeling claustrophobic. Many surfaces of the cities are coated with a material that closely resembles the feel of SCP-3003-1, the Mars beetle. The infected are so fixated on the pleasure that being around these beetles gives them, that they use this as a form of entertainment. The remaining members of this society live in rural areas, in small, carefully planned communities dedicated to farming, mining, or manufacturing. These small pods are even more structured than the cities. Children in this world are raised communally by large groups of workers specializing in health and education. They are infected quickly, at only a little over a year old, which is as soon as their supervisors are convinced they're physically capable.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering, like, when babies are actually born, how soon are they, you know, getting exposed to this beetle? And it looks like right away.
Once they are infected, and their mindsets converted to the interests of the Mars, The children are quickly tested to determine their ideal occupation before being steered into what they will do for the rest of their life.
How do they do that?
Where, like everything else on SCP-3003, their day-to-day life will be highly structured. Adults typically spend 10 hours a day at work, with the rest being spent engaging in basic activities like eating, sleeping, attending educational
like literally just looking at a picture and not mean that. Anyway, it's just animation.
classes, and engaging in entertainment.
It's disgusting.
But the entertainment all revolves around the Society's obsession with SCP-3003-1. They listen to recordings of the beetle swarms, visit the enclosures where the beetles are bred, or obsessively touch the distinctive lumps that the parasite cause on their hosts. Everyone fits in on SCP-3003. There is no other option. Any sign of divergence from one's job function is cause for the authorities to step in. The first step is medical exams, to make sure that the parasitic infestation isn't becoming too harmful. Anyone who doesn't conform to the social standards is restrained by local members of the Hive mind and brought in for observation. When someone becomes too old or sick to work for society and act as a host for the Mars, their usefulness is at an end, and they are used for organ harvesting and experimentation.
Dang.
In the Society of SCP-3003, one life has no meaning. Its only worth is the value it can bring to the Hive mind. There's one area of SCP-3003's development that is of greater concern to the Foundation, though. Their technology. SCP-3003-3 works as one, and that has allowed it to develop technology far beyond that of what we have on Earth.
I bet.
Their planet is run almost entirely on wind, solar, and tidal power, with a small amount also coming from geothermal and nuclear. Their computers have enough power to produce data that makes foolproof recommendations for public policy, and their artificial intelligence systems are far beyond anything the Foundation has developed. Their crops have been genetically modified to have ideal hardiness and nutritional value, and they routinely experiment on their own DNA for selective breeding purposes. The planet has launched satellites into space and visited the other planets in their solar system. But it's one invention in particular that has brought this strange planet to the Foundation's attention. SCP-3003-4 is a massive facility on SCP-3003 with one purpose: to open wormholes that can transport members of the planet to any other point in space. Each use of this device uses up more energy than Earth uses in a full year, and the device seems to have been created with one goal in mind: to transport representatives to other planets that can expand their parasitic civilization to. The desire to spread the infection of the Mars is a single-minded obsession for the citizens of SCP-3003.
Keep that shit on that planet.
They now have their sights set on Earth. Unlike most dangerous specimens, SCP-3003 and its native species were not discovered in the wild. Rather, it made contact directly with the Earth through its wormhole generator, sending ambassadors who came bearing the news of their gospel of a better, unified way of life.
Okay, so they're actually doing it in a more respectable way. It's not like they're trying to be sneaky about it, like coming to Earth and planting it on a human and then jumping back in their wormhole. They're actually presenting it like a business proposal. Which is, I mean, damn, they're pretty savvy for that one. But that makes sense. But I hope the SCP Foundation doesn't even entertain it. And this makes sense why the SCP Foundation even knows about this planet to begin with, because they're coming to them.
That would be achieved by joining their growing empire. They could have passed for missionaries, but what they were preaching was infection with a parasitic mutated beetle. The SCP Foundation was not prepared for this first contact, and collected all the evidence they could on this strange new society. They quickly came up with one conclusion: SCP-3003 was larger, more powerful, and more advanced than anything on Earth, even the SCP Foundation. With no other option available for containing the threat,
freaking planet.
The Foundation took the only approach they could, making peaceful contact with the ambassadors and making them think Earth was interested in what they were offering. As long as the representatives of SCP-3003 think they are involved in peaceful negotiations for how to introduce the Mars to Earth, they are ready to cooperate and agree to some of the Foundation's terms. This has given the Foundation the opportunity to study the Society and identify some potentially exploitable weak points.
Smart job,
and they found one in particular that may give humans a chance for survival. That weakness? The representatives of SCP-3003-3 do not know how to lie. Once they're converted to host the Mars, Everything they do serves a common purpose and is shared with every other member of their hive-like society. There is no need to lie and no purpose to it in their society.
Oh, so they're basically trying to say that they could be easily manipulated because they wouldn't assume other people are lying because they can't lie themselves. That's a big weakness.
And as such, they can be deceived far more easily than most humans. That gives the SCP Foundation the chance to stall them and fool them into thinking Earth is planning for integration at its own pace. But even the residents of this strange civilization's patience may have its limits. The representatives seemed cooperative at first, agreeing to many concessions the Foundation requested, including carefully regulating where they entered Earth, and making the Foundation their first point of contact for their Earth Contact and Research Committee. This allows the Foundation to ensure no invasive species makes their entry onto Earth unknown. Because the civilization is unable to lie, the Foundation has convinced them that Earth is contaminated and unable to host the Mars, with the species becoming sterile when introduced. The representatives seem to believe this, and believe they are working on a solution with Earth. But some members of SCP-3003-3 may be becoming more aggressive. It was after a meeting with a representative of SCP-3003 that Foundation researcher Dr. Shaw entered an elevator with the alien. Suddenly, the Mars host became enraged, tearing the control panel out of the wall and stopping the elevator. Dr. Shaw was terrified, but the representative simply said it wanted some alone time. The SCP-3003-3 representative started speaking, but it didn't seem to speak like the other members. It was intense and intimidating, and most worrying, it referred to taking over a two-legged species over 500 years ago. It wasn't the human speaking, but neither was it the Mars. No, this was the single-cell organism that had puppeteered both them and the Mars.
I figured as much.
Unlike the humans,
that little germ-looking fool is actually controlling the human.
of SCP-3003. It wasn't fooled by the Foundation's subterfuge. It knew they were resisting, and it didn't believe the story about the planet being inhospitable to the Mars. It wanted the Earth to surrender and join the hive mind, and it argued Earth would be better for it. No more war, no more conflict, no more hate, no more poverty.
You do kind of have a point,
All
though.
it would take was the complete surrender of everyone on Earth's free will.
But still,
and it made
gotta have
clear
free
that
will.
it would win. It would be the last thing, the only thing left in the universe, and everyone would join it one way or another. It was clear that the threat of SCP-3003 was more pressing than thought, which posed a question. How do you contain an entire planet?
Exactly.
The decision to classify SCP-3003 as Keter wasn't hard, but none of the Foundation's other tactics they'd used in the past would apply here. Investigation into the capabilities of the planet made clear that if a war was to break out between the two planets, it would end swiftly and decisively in favor of SCP-3003. If the SCP-3003-2 living inside the bloodstream of the planet's humans were aware of the Foundation's deceptions, they did not seem to be letting the humans of their planet in on this, so the deception would hold for now. But SCP-3003 was moving fast as well, and soon it might be too late to contain it. Two projects in particular concern the Foundation. One is a genetic tampering experiment to make SCP-3003-3 more hospitable to their purpose. It would add artificial genes to their human hosts, making them consume less resources, becoming immune to common pathogens, and making them able to host 10 times as many Mars inside their bodies.
What? You could do more than one? I had no idea. I thought it was only one per human.
These genes would turn the infected humans into their own new species. They are working on traveling to and...
Oh, so that's an experiment that they would do on the humans, but are the regular people from the other planet like that too? They could host more than one beetle?
terraforming planets in other star systems, which would make them capable of spreading virtually anywhere, and at that point, impossible to contain. But the Foundation has some last-ditch plans in motion to stop this. In addition to continuing their disinformation campaign and the ongoing research into samples of the Mars and the single-celled being that mutates them, the Foundation is preparing for the worst-case scenario too. They are spreading disinformation among scientists to ensure no additional contact is made with elements outside the SCP Foundation, and the O5 Council has authorized studies into how to eliminate this threat permanently.
This is crazy. Such a big threat from just a little single-cell organism. And a beetle. Bro, that is so crazy.
But the Foundation will only have one chance to do so. and any attempt will need to involve the elimination of their wormhole
Oh my
device to
God.
keep them from escaping. Because even one specimen escaping could mean infestation of another world, and eventually, the threat would begin anew. But for now, the Foundation has not deemed any plans for an attack to neutralize SCP-3003 either practical or likely to succeed.
Yeah.
Which means the Foundation is left focusing on maintaining stable relations with SCP-3003-3.
So long that
They
lasts.
continue to try and convince them that the Earth is moving towards peaceful integration, and let's hope they succeed in this task for as long as they can.
It's a ticking
Because for
time
now,
bomb.
this is the only thing we have standing between us and the end of history. For more on terrifying insects, check out SCP-3004 Insect God.
Damn. This was a good one. It wasn't as similar to SCP-150, Body Still and Parasite. It would be kind of cool, like, if the beetle and the single cell organism was kind of, you know, mutating the humans a little bit to, like, their own image, but they still just look like regular humans, which was still kind of interesting because they could deceive regular people very easily. I'm just really surprised the appearance didn't change whatsoever. But damn, this SCP was definitely cool. Never seen a planet-sized SCP, a legit planet, so that was insane to like just even take in. And it's obviously it would be cute. Like there's no way you could contain a planet, so that was self-explanatory. But yo, this was a good animation. If you guys enjoyed it, please remember to smash that like button, and also let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about this SCP. And also remember, hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. And unfortunately, that concludes today's episode. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.